producing the product for $10, why would you buy it yourself rather than having people buy it? Well, it's all about perception, right? So labels have always realized that altering perceptions, especially as we get into this digital era where people care about numbers, the more you alter the numbers, the more you could control the minds and control the sheep, because the majority of people don't think for themselves. They don't actually select music. Even, this idea that streaming was supposed to be music on demand, where you selected the song. Quickly, within the first year or two, you had streaming platforms realize that the majority of their listeners didn't want to select music for themselves. They would gravitate towards a rap caviar or somebody's playlist. They like for other people to curate a list. So essentially, what the labels realize is that people could be easily mind fucked. They could be easily, they're sheep. You just got to kind of shovel them on. And with that being said, the labels have realized one quick tactic. If you make them believe it's hot, it is hot, right? So how do you do that? Well, obviously in the earlier era, as I said, you just buy a record. So like say you want to say, I don't know, and I'm not saying this artist did this, but let's say Lloyd Banks. We want to say Lloyd Banks sold 700,000 first week. We bought 250,000 of those joints to make him look even more successful. Then people feel the element of FOMO. Now they're listening to him more, whatever. It builds and builds and builds, right? How does it work in the streaming era? Well, it works in the streaming era now where it's complete manipulation. Like there's 15 different ways. So you got bots, and I've always said I think all artists use bots to some extent, but then you have some people that go overboard with the bots. So you use bots to inflate streams or to make something look like it's jumping off the page, when in reality it's kind of just performing mid. Secondly, what do you do? Well, first week sales. Hey, listen, I've had so many conversations with these labels where I'm sitting in these, meetings and, like I've gotten offered money. Here's $5,000, here's $10,000. Please don't tweet out our artist sales. Why? Homie's flopping. When I tweeted out that he flops, it's a stamp. It's over. Because I'm about to come on stream and we about to gas it up. It's over. That nigga need, and here's the problem with that. When I then report the flop, it kills their whole marketing budget. So say they spend $500,000 marketing that artist to that point. When I then report the first week flop, the album significantly tanks, and then all that $500,000 they spent on marketing is out the window, because now the artist is even lower than he was when you start building him up, because a rollout you gradually build. So now they got to spend now $800,000 to go get him back hot, even remotely. So it's all about like that type of perception. So first week numbers, it matters a lot for these labels. Trust me, I promise you. Okay. And by the way, each and every time, I definitely didn't take money to not report sales. Now I'll be honest with you, there has been an artist that I'm cool with that he dropped and his numbers was abysmal, and I did him the favor and did a report. But that was my man's. I'm gonna keep it a bean. That was my man's. But for just straight the money, I always gotta, I have a unique relationship with labels. If they ever think they could just buy you, you don't matter no more. So I can't take the money. But for my man's, whatever. Anyway, and that's just me being honest. But so yeah, first week sales. Okay, so now how do you affect first week sales, right? So obviously you could inflate bots and streams and stuff like that. I think these days Spotify is pretty good. Sometimes they get caught lacking, but most of the streaming services, I hear Apple is really tough to manipulate. They do a lot of real data in real time. It's really hard to manipulate like that. Spotify is a little bit easier, but they do a good job of trying to catch stuff. Bots aren't going to get you those big sales numbers. What's really going to get you those big sales numbers is playing the game according to not streaming, but what Luminate and Billboard allow. Now, again, remember I said Carti did 298, not 320, not 500, 298. Billboard is the one that certifies sales. It's their list. The industry has worked and operated off of Billboard's chart listing for singles and albums for as long as the music industry existed. Where Billboard gets their data from, historically, is from Nielsen. Nielsen, if you don't know what that is, that's a reporting data firm that usually captures data from linear TV. So they used to report, oh, ABC did this, Fox News did this, but they also did it for they did it for radio stations, partially because there's another service that did it for. They did it for everything, including they offered a data set to labels. So at first, labels were paying. I hear like most labels were paying like $250,000 to get access to the service, and this is before the internet. Like now, you can just go on your YouTube analytics and tells you, yo, most niggas will listen to you in Chicago. Back then, when you're just shipping out stuff, how do you know if you ship out? Say you got popular artists, if you ship out 10,000 CDs to this one city, but that person only has 1,000 fans there, you may have just wasted money. This is going to sit on the shelf. You want to know the demographics. So what Nielsen used to do back in the day, did a really, really good job of, pretty much it was a census for where your music was going, where your fans are, and it would come back with these long reports where it could tell you down to, remember, these labels got to set up tours, or these artists got to set up tours, they got to set up promo runs. And back then, where it wasn't as like, you can't go on your Instagram and be like, yo, if drop y'all cities in the chat if where y'all want me to go. So Nielsen would come back to these labels with, hey, listen, these are the markets that spend the most amount of money on your artists. These are the markets that purchase your artist CDs the most. And trust me, it was valued very well. Now, Billboard took that and said, we're going to unite all of this, and we're going to create the official chart. All the labels start subscribing to that, and also Billboard they have separate leverages that they use with the labels. Anyway, I know I'm speaking a lot, but this is a late night stream, chat. Just get educated. It's all good. Okay, cool. Eventually, Nielsen kind of like not really folds, but they turn into what's called Luminate. It's like a company that kind of gets that, and they got another data reporting company as well. And Luminate does exactly what Nielsen's doing. So they just report what is the buying trends, streaming trends, and they really do it down to a microdecimal to let people know where shit is coming from. They could literally they almost give data to the labels to say, yo, on this block, they're streaming your song 300 times a week. Like, that's how much they are in tune with the data and how well the data is. So again, they've done a great job now kind of switching to streaming. They provide Billboard all the information. Billboard makes their charts. And what Billboard realizes is that niggas have figured out how to game the charts every single time.